If it's not diseased, how long will it last?
Well, now, George, that they've been able to replenish the heart with stem cells, which Dr. Doris Taylor did in an experiment at the University of Minnesota, no telling what could happen. They can rejuvenate a heart like Duane's, or people who have had 4 and 5 heart attacks. We've talked to 1 or 2 of those on the show. If you can replenish the cells, rejuvenate the cells, which is the first time in the history of medicine it's ever been done, and you're talking to a prime example there in Duane, who knows? I know one thing. My medical science is going to keep us all around a lot longer if we can do our job and take care of ourselves. You know, I'm talking about the fact that right now they are actually growing livers. Colin McGuckin and his partner Nico Fresco in Newcastle University in the UK have successfully grown livers.
Like clone livers?
Well, they're grown from umbilical cord. Now, they're very small livers at this point. They believe they'll have a full-scale liver probably in about 8 years. But what's interesting is these small livers, they're able to extract tissue, and they figure in a year and a half or 2, they'll be able to repair damaged, scarred livers, because what's happening is we got a generation of people that are hell-bent on destroying their livers through drugs, through binge drinking, through smoking, through all kind of things, and sexually transmitted diseases like hepatitis C, and there aren't enough livers to go around. And it's a worldwide epidemic, and hopefully they'll be able now to grow full-scale livers for transplant.
Or won't stem cells injected into your troubled liver work?
They're working on that right now. I tell you, there's another thing, and that's that I'm putting in the newsletter. The most vicious and aggressive form of brain cancer is glioblastoma.
Right.
Particularly glioblastoma multiforme.
Isn't that what Robert Novak, I
hadn't heard. I know he has brain cancer, but I didn't know what form he has.
Okay.
But I hope it's not, because it's a 14-year life expectancy, 14-month life expectancy.
They say his is dire.
Well, that's probably it. I think 50% of the people don't make it to a year. See, there is, up till now, it has completely baffled medical science that no matter how much chemotherapy and radiation and surgery for glioblastoma, they don't get it. It just goes crazy afterward. It comes on with a vengeance. At Duke University, I think Jeremy Rich, I believe, is the researcher, have found that there is about 5% of the tumor, 5% of the stem cells refuse to die. And they bury themselves in the recesses of the brain or something. They live. And they figure now, figured out a way that they can mark them and eradicate them. And they're working on that right now. That would be such a major breakthrough because they can use that for other forms of cancer also.
So though they're doing this for the heart, they haven't touched all the other organs yet, like your lungs and things like that.
They're working on it everywhere.
But each organ is specific.
Each one is specific.
Okay.
Different type of stem cell, perhaps, that is more applicable to one lineage, one center of family, rather, of stem cells.
Well, Duane, you're 69. How old do you think your heart is now?
Well, I'm back to where I was a number of years ago.
Maybe it's 40 years old, 30 years old. Who knows?
Yeah, it's functioning really well.
And, your blood pressure's all checked out. Everything's checked out.
Everything's great.
You don't worry about your heart anymore, Duane?
Not a bit.
Now you got to take care of the rest of your body.
Yeah, I can keep up with the best of men at my age.
That's amazing.
And it is.
Now, I guess, Christian, if you were to have to pay for it, how much would this procedure cost?
If you had to pay for it, well, what's happening is they're being done out of the country. And I think you and I had Michael Dunkirk on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it cost him about $55,000. But maybe it wasn't quite that much. It just seems to me it was.
Does insurance pick it up?
People are going to South America for $19,000. Others are paying more.
And do they know what they're doing there? in South America?
They apparently do. You know, it's hard for me to ever recommend something like that because I can only point people in the direction.
Right.
But I have certainly interviewed patients who have had it done, and they're doing very well. You know what it boils down to, George, if you're out of options,
Yeah,
if you don't have any other way to go, and your doctor says you're fourth stage, or you're checking out, and there's nothing more in the world I can do for you, and for the price of a new automobile, if you want to take a chance and try to save your life, I think you probably ought to look into it.
Why doesn't the body regenerate these cells on its own?
Many organs can do that. The heart, unfortunately, is not one that can do that. It takes help. Now, the procedure that Duane had used stem cells from his leg muscle. The heart, of course, is a muscle.
Right.
They could possibly have used the bicep or the calf muscle, but after all the testing that they did at Duke and at Minnesota, apparently they found that the thigh muscle was the best muscle.
And that would be the same for everybody now, then, right?
Yeah. It's the others are using bone marrow transplant, and they're doing well.
That is amazing. Well, Duane, stay strong, my friend.
Well, thank you.
That's Duane Gutcher. And, Christian, that's a remarkable story.
Well, it's good to hear that because it gives people hope. It really does. And as far as how much is it going to cost in the United States once they go through these trials and get the final approval, I believe the insurance companies are going to have to get involved because it's going to save them a lot of money in the long run.
Our next guest is Dr. Gabriel Cousens. You'll be with us, Christian, so feel free to jump in with some questions along the way. We'll be back. Well, I had him on a year and a half ago. Dr. Gabriel Cousens, founder and director of the Tree of Life Foundation and the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center in Arizona. He has more than 30 years' experience in healing diabetes naturally. Gabriel is recognized as the leading worldwide medical authority on live food nutrition and as an independently and internationally known spiritual teacher, lecturer, holistic physician, psychiatrist, you name it. Here he is, Dr. Gabriel Cousens. Gabriel, welcome back.
Well, I'm very pleased to be back on the show. I just love the great work you folks are doing.
Well, Christian, say hello to Dr. Gabriel Cousens.
Dr. Cousens, my pleasure to be on with you.
Yes, it's really a joy to be talking and sharing with you and all the listeners.
Gabriel, the live food program, tell me about this. Now, we talked a little bit about this a year and a half ago, but it's up and running big time now, isn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about the live food program for diabetes,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yes, it is running. We have programs running 4 times a year. The next one is August 29th, and then the one after that is January 9th. And we are getting amazing results. And I'm going to qualify for type 2 diabetes. We're getting 90-95% cure rate. Cure rate means going back to normal physiology, not being on any medications whatsoever. This is exciting. We take people who have been on insulin for 20, 30 years, and type 2, and bring them off their insulin and other medications for diabetes in 2 to 4 days.
Oh, my gosh.
That's amazing.
And you got to understand that the American Diabetic Association in medical school, where I went to Columbia Medical School, we were always taught incurable, slow but sure death, accelerated aging. We can call it that way. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, actually says you can lose up to 19 years off your life, besides all the chronic disease, chronic degenerative aspects. And I just want to share that, people. This is really serious. You know, for men, of course, there's impotency, and then there's 2 to 4 times higher rates of heart disease. 85% of the people start to lose their vision. Now, we've had people come in who are have basically lost their work because they can't see, you know, and reversing it in just a few months.
Plus, you've got about a $3 billion a year cost just for amputations. I think, and it's $132 billion each year, if my statistics are right.
That's correct. I mean, they're estimates, but that's correct. That's what we've been given. It's huge, and there's basically $264 billion a year spent on diabetes, and it's huge. And people are suffering. You know, you have 70% of the people get neuropathy and then goes to amputation, then death 5 years later. 20 to 50% have kidney failure. No, it's big time suffering and misery. And kind of a hidden factor, it doubles the rate of Alzheimer's disease.
That's right.
How many people are prone to type 2, for example, Gabriel, who are overweight? They've got that roll on their stomach. They may not even know they have diabetes.
Well, we're looking in the United States. It's going to vary. It's 82% of diabetics are overweight, and about 44% are obese, which is more than 20 pounds overweight. And that roll in their stomach is really the result of what we call insulin resistance, and that's about 25 to 35% of Americans. And the insulin ends up making you deposit that spare tire. So it's like a telltale sign of what's going on.
Tell me about the live food program now, the treatment.
So, first of all, it's not exactly a new idea. In 1920, Max Gerson healed Albert Schweitzer of type 2 diabetes with live food. So we didn't create, this is out of the blue. We basically took that information and consolidated it into a 21-day program. Why so fast? Okay, what's the hurry?
Yeah.
Well, for most people, our average person, they're coming in with a blood sugar of 247 on the average. A lot are over 400.
God.
Normal is 100. Okay,
yeah.
We call normal 70 to 85, just to get an overview of how big this is, how dramatic it is. So we started off with a green juice fast, and the reason we do that is I've got to get people off their insulin as soon as possible under medical supervision, and we give them a lot of intense attention. So somewhere between 2 and 4 days, they're off insulin, they're off all their oral hypoglycemics, and then it's a lot less pressure on everybody. Because if you try to do this, and we do not recommend people do this on their own. If you're on insulin, it's easily to go into insulin shock, and that we don't need.
And do you also recommend, though, that people who do not have diabetes to do something like this once in a while?
Well, the answer is we recommend a 7-day green juice fast twice a year because everybody has toxicity building up.
Okay.
Generally speaking. Then we go into 100% live food. Now, and then in the second part, we have a whole physiology, a psychospiritual course. And really what's going on is, like global warming, diabetes is a symptom of the culture of death. Now, what are we talking about? Well, I just heard your advertisement. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a worldview in which human beings, animals, and plants and the living planet are seen as an economic unit to be exploited.
Right.
And people lose their soul connection in that process. And that's profound. And then our work is to help people move at the Tree of Life Foundation and Rejuvenation Center, is to help people move back into the culture of the death where their love, their heart connection, their soul energy is reconnected, natural healing, obviously non-pharmaceuticals, whole, organic food, high minerals, because almost all diabetics are low in minerals, particularly the key minerals, magnesium and chromium, vanadium, potassium, and zinc. Those are all important. Deficiencies lead to insulin resistance.